If Medgar was the saint, then Charles Evers was the loudmouth Evers boy, as he declared in his autobiography, Have No Fear. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on my channel, Gbluetooth786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you all are blessed and safe this evening. Today, of course, I wanted to do this video. This won't be a long video, but it is a tribute to Mr. Charles Evers. Charles Evers died this past Friday from natural causes at the age of 97 years old. Mr. Evers was a longtime civil rights activist. He was also the brother of course, the slain Medgar Evers. If you know that story, Ghosts of Mississippi. Medgar Evers was assassinated by Byron Della Beckwith on June 12, 1963. And it took, right when John F. Kennedy announced that he was going to sign the Civil Rights Bill into law. Of course, we know John F. Kennedy never really got that chance to, because he was assassinated in 1963, November of 1963 to be exact. And Charles Evers took over Medgar's place to lead the NAACP in Mississippi after the assassination. In 1969, he was elected mayor of the southwestern Mississippi town of Fayette, which had almost about 1,700 population of 1,700 folks, and it was actually a multiracial town with a majority black population. And yet, when he ran, he was actually forced to deal with the resignation of various administrators and police officers because they refused to work for a black administration. And he said, I'm okay with an all-black administration, but we also needed some white folks down here too who were interested in working with us as well. So he was a man of, he didn't care what you thought of him. He did things how he saw it. In 2016, he endorsed Donald Trump and actually cast the electoral vote for Donald Trump. And this was all in Mississippi. But Mr. Evers was also a businessman. He owned several businesses, including a radio station that was real popular out in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and I believe also in Jackson, Mississippi. Before that, in the 1950s, when he was forced to move after he created some of those businesses with less than $19 in his pocket, he worked as a washroom attendant at the Hilton Hotel. And when the white men would come, when the white gangsters and gamblers would come in to the hotel, they would ask for black prostitutes. So he got involved in prostitution as well as bootlegging. So Mr. Evers was a gangster. And don't ever forget that he actually, being that I guess he was the most aggressive of the two Evers boys, he actually messed with firearms. He actually brought a whole bunch of guns down to Mississippi after Medgar was assassinated. And Medgar Evers even had guns in his house. So don't think that all black people were on this nonviolence tip. They weren't. He was one of the few, of the many, I should say, because there was a lot of blacks who didn't believe in the whole nonviolence thing that were ready to go down and fight to the end. And Mr. Evers was also a World War II veteran. He fought, he was stationed over in the Philippines during World War II in the Pacific, as was his brother Medgar. Mr. Evers is survived by 4 daughters. He is, I believe he has multiple grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He will be well missed. And, you know, it's interesting, people, that this came about nearly a week after the deaths of John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. Now, say what you want about John Lewis. I have my issues with him. I didn't know too much about Mr. Vivian. I've heard stories about him, but most of them good. But we're losing some historical figures. I'll just say that much. And, of course, John Lewis is a historical figure, being involved in Bloody Sunday. So is C.T. Vivian, being one of Dr. King's lieutenants. And Mr. Charles Evers, of course, is a part of history. As you can see here, you know, that's a picture of him and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. together. And from what our brother and friend of this program, Ron Hurd of We All Be News, says, he actually knew Charles Evers personally. He said Dr. King always wanted to stay by Charles because Charles had all the guns and goons. whenever he was down in Mississippi. So Dr. King was, he knew if he needed some protection in Mississippi, he knew where to go to. And we got to have soldiers like that. And most of the money that Mr. Evers made, he also used that to help fund the NAACP. He helped give it to the civil rights movement. Some other important notes that I like to think of, being the first black mayor of Fayette, Mississippi, since Reconstruction was in the 1800s, late 1800s, right after the Civil War, so that's telling. Previously, before he even became a Republican, and he described himself as an independent Republican, he actually endorsed Bobby Kennedy for president in 1968. And of course, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated around that same time. There's actually a Mississippi Blues Trail marker that commemorates his career as a concert promoter with B.B. King, who was a blues legend. He was in the bootleg liquor business, as we described earlier. He ran multiple times for different political positions, including as a House Democrat, and he served on the Democratic National Committee in the mid-1970s. He ran for governor in 1971 and for a U.S. Senate seat in 1978, which of course he lost all of those elections. In 1980, he endorsed Ronald Reagan for president and served as a delegate to the Republican National Convention in 1996. So I'll just say, Mr. Evers, you are going to be well missed, sir. You have earned your place as an ancestor. I know that a lot of people may not like, his political beliefs, the fact that he endorsed Donald Trump, but you know what? This man did more for black people, and I'll say this, I'm not talking about Donald Trump, I'm just talking about Charles Evers, but this man did a lot for black people, and he did more than our so-called Congressional Black Caucus and even our so-called black president has done. He definitely was a fighter and trailblazer for black people in this country, and though he got older and his views were more conservative, a lot of us deep down are conservative with some of our issues, and so I don't get caught up in that whole, you got to be a Republican, you got to be a Democrat. You can't be a Republican, you got to be a Democrat. And Democrats fight for us. And Martin Luther King wanted this, Martin Luther King wanted you to go and vote. We were supposed to be voting on what is in our best interest, not based on what our ancestors fought for. Our ancestors, remember, when they fought for the right to vote, they didn't know, the Democrats were originally against that. And it was the Republicans who were the party against the expansion of slavery in history. Now, of course, that changed when you had the Barry Goldwater Republicans, who were the staunch segregationists. And so the Democrats, after the Voting Rights Act was passed in '65, they switched over, especially when Nixon came along, and Nixon was talking about a war on crime and a war on drugs. And that basically was code language for war on black folks. Our ancestors fought for us to be free. They fought for us to think on our own. They fought for us to be independent. They didn't fight for us to be the bitch of a party. So, I don't want to make it about this though, but we got to remember, those that are part of history. And Charles Evers has earned his part of history in blood, in his work, his philanthropic works, his time in the civil rights movement, and just all other things that he had been part of in the struggle, especially in that state of Mississippi. We can't ignore that. So, Mr. Evers, rest in peace, rest in power. My condolences to his children, his grandchildren, family members, and friends. He will be well missed. At any rate, guys, that is it for me. Please subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe this if you see it. I also encourage you all to please donate to the channel. You can donate at the Cash App and as well as Google Pay. All of those links will be available. You guys be safe and be blessed. And I just want to make one correction. July 22nd, 2020, that is when Mr. Evers actually passed away, which would have been a Wednesday, not a Friday. So I stand corrected for that one. But you guys be safe and be blessed. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.